Hey there, I'm just going to do a real quick explanation for one of the guys on Harmony Central who asked about hand technique, and he was having difficulty with his legato playing. And some of it has to do kind of with his thumb placement. Usually with my students, I try and make sure that people understand that your thumb has to support your hand. Right? If you have your thumb out here, see how my hand just kind of naturally closes up? Right? And then they tend to tilt their hand like this, so then the pinky has no reach. Right? If you can actually rotate your hand around, so if we're playing one finger per fret, see where my thumb is in the open position? Oops, as I'm moving around with the instrument. But it's kind of behind the second finger, and as I move up the fretboard, it gets closer to my first finger. Right? But the other thing is I don't have my first finger pointing back at my face. Right? That's the other mistake people make. Even if they have the thumb in a good place, the pinky has no reach. Now, if you look at my hands, if I want to make a really wide stretch like that, right? The stretch happens between the first and the second fingers. I can't reach with my pinky that far, and honestly, it's not going to be very powerful. So, if I want to make a reach even anything like wide like that, that happens here, right? Now, keep in mind, my fingers are pretty wide. You can see the difference. If I line up my pinkies, so that they're even. My fretting hand has a lot more reach than this hand because I do this all day. I'm playing guitar the whole time. So the stretch will happen over time the more that you play. But even, I've got a picture of my 8-year-old daughter playing a Les Paul, right? So a 24 and 3/4 inch instrument, not a short scale, but an actual full scale instrument. And she's able to make this happen without any difficulty because her thumb's in the right place, right? And if you want to make that reach, remember, first finger, it points up, never back at your face. Sometimes it points down the fretboard, but the thumb, you can see kind of where my thumb is at, it's usually behind the bulk of the hand, right? Now, as far as hammer-on and pull-off, like legato style playing, the best thing that I have found is that you want to be able to do it really slow and loud enough that we hear every note, almost like it's being picked. You can see I'm not picking anything, and I'm playing with a clean sound. I'm playing through a solid state amp, so there's no tube compression going on. There's nothing going on except for the fact that I'm playing pretty hard with my fingers as I'm hammering on and pulling off. Now, when you pull off, pull down, but don't bend the string. Right? The idea is that you want to actually make sure that it's almost like your fingers are picking the string. You're hammering on, giving a nice solid sound there, and then when you pull off, you're picking the string with the fingers down to the next string. Right, so basically just a couple bullet points. Thumb centered behind the hand, pretty much. And like I said, as you move up the fretboard, it has to move. Like on my Les Paul, when I play up here and there's not as much cutaway, you see where my thumb is. It's not. I can't put it right here because that's where the heel of the guitar is, even on this guitar. All right. So that's the first thing. Is if I'm in the open position, the thumb's over the top for open chords. It's kind of centered if I'm playing bar chords and power chords, and it's a little bit lower to get the fingers access. This part of the hand is always open. It's always away from the bottom of the fretboard. If I'm bending notes, I'll have the thumb over the top. All right, and what that does is that gives me a little bit of leverage. Once again, I have space here, although there's almost like a little fulcrum right here. I'm actually touching the bottom of the fretboard. All right, and I'm playing on 11s right now. And I can do 2-step bends. I thought that was out of tune. I can do, oblique bends. Now notice where my thumb is on this one because it just helps me with the leverage on a lick like that. Yow! But just kind of food for thought. Your thumb placement is real important. If you have your thumb this side of your hand's never really going to do anything that you need it to do. You want it centered a lot, or at least in the this third of the bulk or the mass of the hand. Finger pointing kind of up over here, not back at your face, because then that pulls everything away. You want there to be space between the bottom of the fretboard and your hand a lot, unless you're bending or you're playing open chords, in which case having it touch a little bit there, not where it's obstructing the first string, and falling away is okay. All right, but for a lot of other stuff like bar chords, you want the hand lower. You don't want your finger up like this when you're playing a bar chord. All right, that takes away from a lot of the power and control and clarity that you get from the chord. And I think that's pretty much it. Really wide stretches happen over time. You don't want to try and force it. I get a lot of adults saying that they have a lot of difficulty playing certain things. Their hands aren't big enough, and I always refer them to a picture of my 8-year-old daughter, who can play a lot of this stuff just because her hands actually work properly on the instrument. It's never too late. That part of the question, I think, on Harmony Central was, is this something that I'm too late to do? And the reality is you can change your technique at any time. But when you're trying to change something that you already do, and I went through this with my picking hand, and I'm still kind of fighting with my picking hand, it takes a very long time and a lot of patience, and you have to be really conscious of what you're doing. So just kind of keep that in mind. It's not going to happen overnight, and you have to just try and stay kind of aware of it.